Purchase orders module of Evolution MX allows for the raising of plant hire specific purchase orders, provided the presence of the plant module is found. Now, the plant module itself allows for the managing of your own items of plant, but also gives this third option to the purchase ordering processing, which allows for, as I say, hiring in of plant items. Very similar to the way that you'd raise a materials purchase order, but recognized as a specific different type of order. Here, the type is now a plant purchase order over on the right-hand side. We indicate still the contract against which the purchase order is to be raised against. We've got full searching to be able to assist with the finding of the appropriate contract. Different prefix to the purchase order number here. So PH is my chosen prefix to indicate it's a plant hire order, but I can share the same numbering sequence. So it's going to take the next number in sequence from my central order book. I can still record the purchaser who's requested the purchase order, so that can be input as it is a text field, and also indicate the supplier. So selecting here, again, we've got an option to be able to search on different suppliers that are within the database. Selecting your particular supplier, and then selecting also the delivery address. So this will be a different point of contact you've got at that particular supplier. Each of which can store a different email address. So if you are choosing to email out the purchase orders, they can be sure to go to the appropriate recipient. When you are emailing, you've also got the option of using a CC, for example, to remind the site manager or the QS that the purchase order has been raised. Down towards the bottom of the screen, we can select the products that we want to involve on this particular purchase order. Now, not dissimilar from where you do a materials order, we've accessed the product library. But on this occasion, we're going to be able to select products that have been set up specifically for being hired in. So whilst the screen at the bottom half of the screen currently looks like it's going to be dealing with a normal consumable product, as soon as I enter or select a product which has been defined for hire purposes, we'll see a different nature on that bottom half of the screen. So now it's asking us for the number of items. That's not the number of days, that's the number of generators. So if you wanted to record a purchase or a requirement for more than one, you can do so on the purchase order. So if I were to say 3 items here, for example, I'm going to say that's 3 generators. Now, depending on the setup of that particular product, it may now treat that as a quantity of 3 on a single line, or it could treat each line as a separate entry, allowing you to on and off hire different generators on different days. So that's where we can use the pooled option. If it's unpooled, it'll suggest that it's going to be separate items that can be on and off hired separately. But for things like fence panels and barriers, you clearly wouldn't want separate lines for each of the 200 items you might order on the same purchase order. So here I'm just going to say there's three items. The order unit and the charging basis can be set within the product. We can also introduce part charge policies. So for example, if you have something for 2 days and a 5-day week, does the system use 2/5 of the charge, or is it still 100% for the charge because it's a partial week? That can be decided upon with the setup of the product. Over on the right hand side, we can be indicating when we expect or require delivery of this item to site, the anticipated on hire. That can be set in advance if you need to. The on hire can be filled in at this point if it's appropriate to do so. It may be that you're retrospectively ordering something which has already been requested and is actually on site. So you can save yourself an extra step just by filling in the actual on hire at this point. The anticipated off hire could be set to give you a reminder to say that as of the 30th of November, we've been told that it's going to be finished with on that site. So we can record that at this point if you wanted to. That won't force you to off hire it. It'll just give you a reminder to say 30th of November has come and arrived now. We were told originally that that plant item was going to be finished with. Okay. It will keep the purchase order open though for you to continually charge this until you take it off hire. So at this point, if I hit OK, I'm actually going to get a 3-line purchase order created. So 1 line for each of the individual generators that I'd requested on this purchase order. I have the option of using the document button, so I could attach in anything else that I wanted to as an additional document against this purchase order. It might be some sort of quote from the supplier or a site map or some other documentation which is relevant to be included with this purchase order and potentially also sent out to the supplier should you wish to. At this point, if I just print, that is going to confirm that it's actually going to email the purchase order out and update that as a purchase order. No values at this point because we don't know how long the hire is going to necessarily be for. But it does record a purchase order against which you can do further processing. At this point, the system will now create me plant items. So albeit temporarily, it's going to now add to your plant register the 3 items for each of those generators that we've just created. And we could now see those through the plant module. If I go in through the maintenance section here and go into plant item manager, I'll be able to see that we've got on our plant list an additional 3 items. So these 3 here, 1, 2, 3, have been created now as a result of what I've just done on that purchase order. And you can see the anticipated return date has been recorded as 30th of November. So you get a central library of all items that are on hire and an indication of the contract at which they are currently residing. You can also see that information on the contract itself. So if we go in to look at our contract inquiry, call up that job against which I just raised the purchase order, and we'll be able to see there's a new option available to us now. The plant tab, 3 or 4 in from the left hand side, will give you a record of each of the individual plant items that are currently sitting on that particular contract. Defaults all of those on hire, but you could look at all historical as well, should there be any that have since been off hired and are no longer resident on that particular contract. So that's giving you a two-way view. You'll be able to see what you've got centrally in terms of all plant items and where they are, but also on a contract by contract basis, you can see them at that point as well. You also have reporting that could be used for being able to do your own on-hire reporting rather than rely on an external supplier to provide you that information. But you could also have access to it through dashboards. So if we looked at an example of a dashboard here on the plant side, we've got an indication towards the top left there, plant items overdue. So it's looking at that anticipated off-hire date, and when that date's arrived, it's going to be flagging up and saying, oh, you've got 7 items that have actually gone past when you said you were going to have them available for return. And you can double click on that to take you down into that outstanding list. Okay, looking at everything else that's on hire that's not necessarily overdue, you've got another tile second in from the right on the top line there. We've got all plant items on all contracts. So we'll be able to see there everything that's on contract 0737, including those 3 that I've just put on for the moment. When you are ready to complete the hire of a plant item, then you can use the purchase order menu. Within there, we've got plant hire, and then we can just say off hire. So this is where we're able to indicate now that the hire has finished on a particular contract on a particular date. Okay, it's showing me everything that is currently on hire at that particular contract. It's just a case of ticking to say that one has been returned. Okay, the hire state will be updated. The plant period charging then would be used to actually roll up those costs to create GRNs or good received notes that could then be used for invoice purposes, and also to put the actual costs onto the contract. So that would be run through the plant module. You've got the option for the period charging, which is going to allow for all purchase orders on plant items to be recognized, and then as they roll those costs on a weekly or a monthly basis, so you get actual costs appearing onto the contract, but you also then get the GRNs that, as I say, that are available for invoice matching. So that's an insight as to how we would look at using purchase orders for specific for plant hired items inside the Evolution MX system. Thanks for watching. Hope that was of use to you.